For India, this is not new. We've always been victims of terrorism. We've flagged it multiple times. We've pointed fingers at the puppet masters, but the West has always ignored it. I have some examples for you, none bigger than Pakistan, of course. After the 9/11 attack, America launched the war on terror. They roved in Pakistan to fight alongside them. Back then, India warned Washington. Foreign Minister Jaswant Singh said, the problem cannot be the solution. Meaning, Pakistan is the source of terrorism, therefore it cannot be the solution. That's what India told the Americans. The Americans, of course, ignored India's warnings. They gave Pakistan tons of military support. A decade later, the US managed to kill 9/11 mastermind Osama bin Laden. Where? Inside that same Pakistan. Even today, it's the same situation. India has been calling out Pakistan's terror campaigns, but the West doesn't care. Donald Trump briefly cut off the military aid, but Joe Biden resumed it. Another example is Afghanistan. In 2010, Kabul hosted a peace conference. The Indian foreign minister attended it. Listen to his warning back then. This is from 2010. The international community must learn lessons from past experiences at negotiating with fundamentalist and extremist organizations. Adequate capacity of the Afghan security forces is necessary for protecting Afghanistan's sovereignty. Gains of the last 9 years stand to be squandered if this aspect does not receive the attention that it deserves. This was India's warning in 2010. And what did the West do? Exactly the opposite. First, they negotiated with the Taliban, then they left in a hurry, which means Afghan security forces were not prepared. As a result, India's prediction came true. The gains of 2 decades were squandered almost overnight. A third example is Khalistan. By the 1980s, India had started warning Western countries. In 1982, New Delhi took up the issue with Canada specifically. Trudeau's father, Pierre Trudeau, was Prime Minister then. He decided to ignore the issue. In fact, India had also asked Canada to extradite a Khalistani suspect, a man named Talvinder Singh Parmar. Again, Canada rejected it. The same man went on to mastermind the Kanishk bombing. He blew up an Air India flight in 1985. 329 people were killed in that attack. More than 260 of them were Canadians. Do you see the trend here? India keeps warning the West about terror threats. The West keeps ignoring them. And finally, India is proven right. What explains this Western ignorance? Well, the Cold War may have played a role. India was not aligned with the West during that time. It was much closer to the Soviet Union. Maybe that explains the Western indifference to India's concerns. It explains, but not justifies. Because it wasn't just ignoring concerns. Sometimes the West has also worked against India's interests. The best example is the Taliban in Afghanistan. The US funded and armed these radicalized fighters. And India paid the price for it. The Taliban helped Pakistani terrorists launch attacks in Kashmir. Nearly 40% of the deaths, 40% of the deaths happened in that period from 1996 to 2001 when the Taliban ruled Kabul. Same in Sri Lanka. The Tamil Tiger groups, the Tamil terror groups, got most of their funding from the West, from countries like Switzerland and the UK. These countries were home to a large Tamil diaspora. That's where the funding came from. Again, who paid the price for it? Ordinary Sri Lankans, yes, but India was also dragged into the conflict. So my point is quite simple. Do not dismiss India's terror concerns. Do not ignore the red flags, because this is not a case of the boy crying wolf. India has always been measured and realistic in its demand. Even with Canada, New Delhi did try its best. It was only on Monday that the language and the tone sharpened. So ignore India's concerns at your own peril.
Firstpost decodes the U.S. election. Explains how America chooses its president. Your primer on the race to the White House. Everything you need to know about how America votes and its global implications. U.S. Election Explained. Every Monday and Thursday only on Firstpost.